Welcome everyone to Cooking with the Pennsylvania Grange. What is for dinner? Volume 3. Tonight, special Italian peppers. So these are stuffed green peppers with Italian sausage. So tonight's recipe is going to consist of 2 large green peppers. Now when you're trying to select these green peppers, the best idea is to get them a little bit flat on the top and close to the bottom as well. That'll make easier for stuffing. You can see that this one's a little bit more concave on the top. So we try to stay away from this, but this is what Walmart gave me as a direct order rather than me going in and selecting them. So we're going to make do with the peppers that we have. So we're going to use 2 large green peppers, which is going to make 4 servings. We're going to use half a roll of Italian sausage. The other half I just went ahead and cooked up for breakfast tomorrow morning. You can freeze it if you want to make this recipe again. It freezes pretty well. Put it in a small little baggie and make sure it's kind of airtight. The recipe calls for tomato juice. I'm going to use tomato soup. The tomato juice is a little expensive and it only comes, at least in my area, in these large containers, and I know I'm not going to use that amount of tomato soup or tomato juice, so I want to make sure that I am using stuff accordingly, that I know I'm not purchasing things that I'm just going to throw away and be wasteful. So I'm going to use tomato soup instead. We have 1 cup of elbow noodles, a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs. Now these are Italian seasoned breadcrumbs because hey, you know, we're doing an Italian dish. We have Parmesan cheese, a 1/4 cup there, a little bit of flour to help thicken up our sauce. I might not need it depending on how I thin this tomato soup out. It does make sense to use flour if you're using tomato juice, because tomato juice is a little bit thinner than what a soup would be. And then I have diced up a half of a medium onion, basically a 1/2 cup, and that's it. And then salt to taste. So keep that recipe in mind as we go through tonight's kind of events. But I really am going to pair this up with some parsley potatoes, which is also an Italian style dish, but I got this prepped early enough so that this can go in the oven and bake for 40 to 45 minutes while I am preparing the rest of these peppers. Now this is just cut your potatoes up, throw some garlic salt in there, a little bit of parsley and butter, and we're good to go. So I'm going to pop this in the oven. We've got water boiling on the back over here, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with the rest of preparing this dish. Hang tight. Alright, so we've got our water boiling here. I'm going to go ahead and throw this pasta in, and along with the pasta I'm actually going to flash these peppers, which is it's going to allow me to kind of get them a little bit softer before I start to work with them. So in order to do that, I just basically want to core them and half them. So once my noodles got a good 2 or 3 minutes on a boil, I'm going to go ahead and throw these peppers in, and I'm going to cover them up. And again, the reason I'm doing this all in the same pan is just to save on the dishware that I have to clean up after myself. The pepper aroma will actually sink into the noodles as well, which will give it a little bit more flavor. Alright, so the next step in this dish is going to be cooking our sausage. I try not to use too much extra oil because the sausage generally has a lot of fat in it, so we want to break that down. Once this starts to brown, we'll add the onion. Half cup of onion. And once this cooks down and the onion gets a little brown, then we'll move it to a bowl and we'll add in the pasta and kind of start mixing our stuffing together and get it in the peppers. Alright, so our onion and meat is pretty much cooked through. I'm going to add my tomato soup. I saved about 2 tablespoons of that pasta water. I'm going to add my flour to this before putting it down in here so it actually cooks and doesn't kind of clump up on me. So I'm going to stir that in. That'll help really thicken that soup back up. Hit it with a couple dashes of salt. I know that the sausage is pretty salty in itself. I've already tasted it after I cooked a little bit of it, so keep in mind you can do that. Feel free to add salt as needed. And then our pasta that we had pre-cooked. Again, it says 4 ounces. That's about a cup in pasta noodles. And this is going to be your filling for these peppers. So we'll let that simmer down just a hair, thicken up a little bit, and we'll show you how to prepare them for the oven. Alright, so we've got a couple things going on. I've got the peppers stuffed here for you. This is what it should look like before you put it in the oven. Now I did have a little bit of extra stuffing, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw that right on top. Spread it out a little evenly there, because these will bake down a little bit further. So now we got to make the topping. The topping basically will consist of your 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese, 1/4 cup of the breadcrumbs, and 2 tablespoons of butter. We're going to mix those together real quick. This is kind of like a crumble topping. It'll get nice and crispy in the oven. Yeah, and we're just going to pour that and spread it all out over top of our peppers. And that is ready to go in the oven, 350 degrees for about 35 to 40 minutes. And we'll be back to show you what it looks like in just a minute. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We have a finished product here coming hot out of the oven in this nice casserole dish. This is what it should look like. A little crispy on top, nice and hot through the middle. Peppers are nice and soft. Kudos to our Italian peppers dish. This is from Lorraine Genard-Ellingson from New London, Grange number 1151. So a couple things. This is from start to finish, probably about an hour's worth of 30-minute prep work, 30-minute bake time. So this could also be done probably in the crock pot, maybe an all-day thing. You might want to thin out the soup or the used juice at that point in time so it actually like cooks down and renders down into it. But we're going to go ahead and plate this up with our potatoes, show you what it looks like, maybe take a taste, maybe describe it to you. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, Italian stuffed peppers. Italian peppers. Now this is like a spaghetti dish. Basically it's spaghetti tucked inside of a green pepper, and I've kind of added a little bit of potato with there. Again, those are parsley potatoes. Very simple recipe, but just look how nice and crunchy it is on top. And then the spaghetti kind of oozes out of that pepper. The pepper's nice and soft, really easy to cut with a fork. I don't need any kind of special tool to eat this. It looks like to me it would be a kid-friendly dish. At least I know that my kid would probably eat the spaghetti out of the middle of this, probably not eat the pepper. Yep, tastes exactly how I expected it to. Pretty much just like spaghetti with a little bit of green pepper in it. If you make spaghetti sauce with your green pepper, that's basically what this tastes like. So a very creative way to make spaghetti. And you also get that added pepper flavor in there as well. So very good. And adding the potato with it, also a very good idea. Get that natural Italian garlic flavor. Perfect accommodations for both. So there you have it, Italian peppers. Tune in next Sunday, like and subscribe. We'll be back doing another episode of What's for Dinner, supported by the Pennsylvania Grange Cookbook. Thanks, have a good night.